In 1961, at the peak of the Cold War between the United States and the Soviet Union, Yuri Gagarin became the first man to journey into space. Shortly after, the United States launched its first astronaut, Alan Shepard. However, President John F. Kennedy recognized the need for a more ambitious mission if the United States were to surpass the Soviet space program. Kennedy addressed Congress, proposing that the United States commit to landing a man on the moon and safely returning him to Earth before the end of the decade. At that time, the United States had only 15 minutes of human spaceflight experience, and the feasibility of a moon landing within 9 years remained uncertain. The ambitious undertaking of landing an astronaut on the moon became known as the Apollo program. Despite setbacks, such as the tragic death of astronauts Gus Grissom, Ed White, and Roger Chaffee during the Apollo 1 mission, the program regained momentum with the successful Apollo 7 mission, which marked the first crewed test of the Command and Service Module. By 1968, after 7 years of intensive research and development, NASA had achieved the remarkable feat of flying 3 astronauts 240,000 miles from Earth and into lunar orbit with the Apollo 8 mission. Apollo 8 flew within 69 miles of the moon's surface. However, the most significant challenge remained, crossing the final gap to actually land on the moon. This feat required the development of an entirely new and untested spacecraft, the Lunar Module. The Lunar Module was designed specifically for space travel, without the constraints of aerodynamics. Its lightweight construction was necessary for lifting off from the moon's surface. Astronaut Jim McDivitt, commander of the Apollo 9 mission, saw the first crewed flight of the Lunar Module as an exciting challenge and opted for Apollo 9 instead of joining the Apollo 8 mission. Apollo 9 began with a crucial docking maneuver between the Lunar Module and the Command and Service Module. The Lunar Module was folded within the upper stage of the Saturn V rocket and needed to be extracted using the Command and Service Module. Once successfully docked, McDivitt and Lunar Module pilot Rusty Schweikart climbed aboard the Lunar Module, named Spider. Spider's test flight went flawlessly as McDivitt and Schweikart flew the Lunar Module over 100 miles from the Command Module, testing the engines and maneuvering capabilities. They then returned for a safe rendezvous, demonstrating that the Lunar Module was ready for a moon landing. In 1961, during the tense Cold War era between the United States and the Soviet Union, a pivotal moment in space exploration occurred when cosmonaut Yuri Gagarin became the first human to journey into space. Shortly thereafter, the United States responded by launching its first astronaut, Alan Shepard. This marked the beginning of an intense competition between the two superpowers. Despite Shepard's successful mission, President John F. Kennedy recognized that more ambitious goals were necessary for the United States to surpass the Soviet space program. In a speech to Congress, he boldly proclaimed that the nation should commit to landing a man on the moon and safely returning him to Earth before the end of the decade. At that time, the U.S. had only 15 minutes of human spaceflight experience, and the feasibility of a moon landing within 9 years remained uncertain. Undeterred by the challenges ahead, the United States embarked on an unprecedented engineering and scientific endeavor known as the Apollo program. However, the program encountered a tragic setback with the loss of the Apollo 1 crew, Gus Grissom, Ed White, and Roger Chaffee. Despite this setback, the Apollo 7 mission successfully tested the Command and Service Module, instilling hope and confidence in the program. By 1968, after 7 years of dedicated research and development, NASA achieved a significant milestone as Apollo 8 carried 3 astronauts into lunar orbit, coming within 69 miles of the moon's surface. Nevertheless, the ultimate challenge of landing on the moon still loomed ahead. This daunting task required the development of a completely new spacecraft, the Lunar Module. The Lunar Module, often likened to an insect in appearance, was designed specifically for space travel and lacked the constraints of aerodynamics. It was a delicate balance of lightweight materials and advanced engineering. Meanwhile, NASA scientists made a crucial discovery in 1968. they found that the moon's gravitational field was highly uneven due to mass concentrations, or mascons, in its crust. These mascons posed potential risks to spacecraft navigation and had to be further studied and understood before attempting a successful lunar landing. To gain more insight into the mascons' effects, NASA planned the Apollo 10 mission as a dress rehearsal for the upcoming lunar landing attempt. Although Apollo 10 flew every aspect of the mission except for the final descent to the lunar surface, it played a vital role in gathering crucial data. The crew of Apollo 10, Commander Tom Stafford, Command Module Pilot John Young, and Lunar Module Pilot Gene Cernan, were experienced astronauts who had previously participated in the Gemini program. With their wealth of knowledge and expertise, they successfully executed each phase of the mission, except for the landing itself. With everything in place, the stage was set for the long-awaited landing. Apollo 11, commanded by the brilliant engineer and test pilot Neil Armstrong, would embark on this historic mission. Armstrong had demonstrated his exceptional skills and composure during previous missions, such as Gemini 8, where he averted disaster when the spacecraft began spinning uncontrollably. Joining him as lunar module pilot was Buzz Aldrin, a distinguished graduate of MIT with a deep understanding of orbital mechanics. Completing the crew was Michael Collins, who would remain aboard the command module while Armstrong and Aldrin descended to the moon's surface. On July 15, 1969, nearly 1 million spectators gathered at Cape Kennedy to witness the launch of Apollo 11. However, not all present were celebrating. Around 150 protesters, mostly African American mothers and their children, led by Reverend Ralph Abernathy, arrived at Cape Kennedy to voice their concerns about the significant investment in space exploration, while many Americans suffered from poverty and lack of basic necessities. Abernathy met with NASA Administrator Thomas Paine, but their discussion did not resolve the underlying issues. Nonetheless, Abernathy promised to pray for the safe return of the astronauts. Finally, the highly anticipated moment arrived. On July 20th, Armstrong and Aldrin entered the lunar module, nicknamed Eagle, and began their descent to the lunar surface. After a tense and precise maneuver, Armstrong took manual control and steered the lunar module to a safe landing on the moon. As he stepped onto the lunar surface, Armstrong's iconic words echoed around the world: "That's one small step for man, one giant leap for mankind." For 2 hours and 40 minutes, Armstrong and Aldrin conducted experiments, collected samples, and documented their extraordinary experience. With the successful completion of the lunar landing, the question arose as to what the Apollo program should pursue next. President Kennedy's goal had been achieved, and the focus shifted towards scientific exploration. The mysteries of the moon's origins and its role in understanding the early solar system captivated NASA's attention. However, amidst the triumphs, the dangers of spaceflight remained evident. The famous phrase "Houston, we've had a problem" would serve as a stark reminder of the risks involved. We would like to express our gratitude to CuriosityStream for sponsoring this video, and to our Patreon supporters for their ongoing support. Visit our Patreon page to learn how you can contribute to Epic History TV and gain exclusive benefits, such as ad-free early access and participation in topic selection. Follow us on social media platforms like Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter for additional Epic History content and regular updates.